FT's residential team is going to take you inside a new housing development to find out exactly what it means to build prime property in central London. This development launched at an uncertain time in London's prime new build sector. In the past few years, house prices have been rising much faster than rents, thereby squeezing yields and deterring investors. Many of the capital's most expensive new developments have struggled to find buyers, and multi-million-pound homes have been left empty. In this second episode, we meet the planning team and project manager who have had to navigate heritage laws, local authority regulations, and huge logistical challenges to deliver their building on time and to spec.
We start by doing the due diligence, learning everything about the site from a planning perspective, the relevant policies, the constraints, the opportunities, and then when the client starts to take things forward, we get involved in discussions about who might be an appropriate architect. We recommended 3 or 4 practices. DSDHA were one of those practices. They did an excellent interview, had an excellent idea, and they were automatically selected. It was an office building. I think it was built in about 1984. In terms of the wider political process, the whole issue within Westminster at the moment focuses around office accommodation and residential accommodation and the balance between the two. In recent times, they've actually changed the policy to make sure that offices are retained, because there was the sense that more offices than should have been lost to residential. So this was one of the last planning permissions from offices to residential.
I joined the project in January 2016. At that stage, we were just completing the piling work. There was a bit of time in the ground that was took a bit longer, but since then the guys that took possession of the site have done well. The frame went very well, and we're in to fit out now. The bit that's most enjoyable is the design work that we do. We work with some really good designers and thinkers on this project. We do assign the design to our partners in the design world. However, we have got a keen eye for certain things we are very precious about and we want to retain. So we have the ability to step in where we need to. The mansion project was bought very well. The mansion is selling well. We've embellished the finishes. We've gone back to what we set out to achieve. We're currently standing on the roof of the mansion. Up here is a green roof, so that's going to be covered in plants essentially, and there's also some photovoltaic solar powered components also. To the north we've got Marylebone, to the west we've got Selfridges and the West End beyond, and then further south we've got Westminster.
The most challenging issue, without question, was the height of the building by reference to the neighbouring property, which is Stratford House. That's a Grade 1 listed building. That is the top priority listed building within the country. Only 2% of all listed buildings are Grade 1. So we analysed right at the very start the key views of that building. Where would you go to appreciate it? And it's on axis with Stratford Place, straight up from Oxford Street, so you can stand there and look at it. We did a series of views analysis demonstrating that actually the building, even though it's 4 metres higher, is going to sit more comfortably in the setting of Stratford House than the previous building. It has to accord with what we had planning permission for, so there is absolute clarity. I've been working in Westminster for at least 20 years. There's trust and honesty required. If we say we're going to do something, we do it.
There's a number of challenges on this particular project. We've got isolation bearings, so the building is completely isolated at ground floor slab, essentially just a big shock absorber to prevent any vibration coming up to the main build. The basement box dig in itself was quite large. It was an open dig immediately over the running tunnels of the Jubilee line. Ensuring we were monitoring the ground movement within the depth of the tunnels was important, but more so it was just a very large logistical exercise. The facade is a challenge. At Marylebone Lane we've got a terracotta facade, which is not straightforward. Are there any aspects of the job that keep me awake at night? There was a story at the very start of this project when we were digging over the top of the Jubilee line. There was automated sensors in the running tunnels of the Jubilee line, and there was one night, I think it was my first or second week at Clivedale, that my phone went off in the middle of the night with automated texts, red alerts telling me that there was all sorts of things happening below ground. It turns out it was a false alarm, but it was a sleepless night nonetheless.
terms of affordable housing, there's a massive requirement for affordable housing both locally and nationally, and so in this particular instance the conclusion that was reached was the best approach to providing more affordable housing was to make a financial contribution towards Westminster, and Westminster are now using that money to deliver more housing across the borough.